would you suggest a formal education in composition for someone who aspires to be an assistant and or a composer? No. I don't think, I think formal education can be great. And if you're someone who thrives in the educational learning setting, that's great. But there is so much to be learned from informal education. Anyone can teach themselves anything, software wise or whatever, from YouTube these days, from all the resources that are out there. You can learn so much. You can learn by doing, which is the best way to learn, just by writing in different softwares, playing with different softwares, you can learn. And I think also a big part of being a great assistant is walking that line between figuring out something for yourself and then also knowing when to ask a question. So I get annoyed when I ask someone to do something and they, instead of coming back to me when they hit a brick wall after 10 minutes, they spent an hour trying to figure out how to do that themselves. Whereas if they just interrupted me real quick and just said, do you know how to do this? I'd be like, yeah, just go to that thing and bring, that drop down box and it's there. I've just lost an hour of their work, right? But if they just didn't Google it first and see if they could figure out in 5 minutes how to do it and they come to me immediately, then I get really cranky. So these are the skills that are most valuable as an assistant, is knowing how to walk that line. So, but anyone can have that, and honestly, it's weird in LA, there's this thing against, this is a horrible thing to say, but a lot of the composers just don't want to hire Berklee students, because they feel like people come out of Berklee with a chip on their shoulder or something. So sometimes the education can even work against you. Really, at the end of the day, it's, sending a good letter, a good email, on your resume, just being really clear about the software that, the skills you have, what you're willing to do, and then being a good communicator and just being a humble, go get 'em team member that's pleasant to work with, being a good listener. So really, when someone gives you instruction, Harry Gregson Williams talked about this. He said that he would interview assistants or bring someone in for a trial run, and he'd be like, I need you to do, and he would get halfway through the second sentence, they'd be like, oh yeah, I know how to do that. I know how to do that. And then they would go off and they would completely screw up the project because they just didn't listen to his directions out of a point of ego and also probably eagerness and wanting to do a good job, but they wouldn't listen. And for me, it's so important. It's if I give a task, hopefully I'll send you an email or write it on Slack or whatever, and I'll give all the directions. And then I'll be annoyed if you come back to me and you ask me something that was in the directions. And this is something I do with my filmmakers too. I go back and I read the email and make sure has all the information been given to me, do my research first before going back and asking a question. So these are the skills, not your formal education, that are going to really make you an awesome assistant.